Hi everyone, I'm Ellie from Emerald Ant. So today is Friday, it's Friday afternoon and I'm just making some pastry because I decided I'm really in the mood for jam tarts. So I'm just going to add some water to my flour and butter so that I can make a nice pastry dough. There we go. Just put this bowl over here. And here's my dough. Right, and I'll just put some flour. Do you like jam tarts? I love jam tarts, especially on Fridays. Right, so in order to roll out my jam tarts, I need a rolling pin. So just put a bit of flour on the rolling pin so that the pastry doesn't stick to it and get rolling. Now, do you know who invented the rolling pin? Well, it turns out it's very old. It's an ancient invention. And it was invented by a civilization called the Etruscans. The Etruscans lived around 3,000 years ago, 800 BC. And they lived in a part of the world which was then called Asia Minor. Asia Minor is now actually the area in the world that we would call Turkey. And that's where they lived. And the thing about the Etruscans was that they loved experimenting with food. They loved growing different plants and creating new recipes. They just really enjoyed creating food and farming. So of course, because they were great cooks, they liked their cooking utensils. So they had lots and lots of pots and pans and things like lots of different sizes of spoons, the special things, and rolling pins. They invented the rolling pin so that they could roll out pasta, and they also made a kind of a bread which needed rolling out. Unfortunately, the Etruscans ended up not surviving because they were overcome by people like the Romans and the Gauls. The Gauls were from, they were like the tribal peoples from what is now France. And the Greeks also. So the poor old Etruscans, they got pushed out, which is a terrible shame. But they left all these amazing recipes of all the delicious kinds of foods that they had learnt to cook. So we find that these countries like Greece and Italy and France, they have some amazing recipes, and they actually originate from the Etruscans. Amazing. So I'll just finish cutting out these jam tart. Oopsie, I've not done a very good job on that one, have I? See if I can do better with the next one. There we go, and I'll do one more. And then we're going to put a little bit of jam. Strawberry jam, love it. Now, if you're making jam tarts, don't actually put too much jam, because then it kind of bubbles up and sort of explodes and makes a bit of a mess. So just a smallish amount, just a teaspoon size. One more. There we go. So the Etruscans, they liked their wooden rolling pins, But there are all kinds of different rolling pins. So for example, in Italy, where they make lots of pasta, they quite like to use glass. And they might even just use a bottle, a glass bottle, and fill it with water, cold water, really cold water. Obviously put the lid on, and then use that as their rolling pin. And it's quite good because it's really heavy and it stays really cold, which keeps the dough nice and pliable. It's nice and soft so that it's easy to roll. Then the French, they quite like to use a marble rolling pin because again, that's quite heavy and it's very cold and it makes really good pastry, and the French make superb pastry. Personally, I really love this rolling pin because my dad gave this to me a very long time ago. So I've made lots of pastry with this, and it's my special rolling pin. And actually people do kind of get rather attached to their rolling pins and have them for years and years and years. They're rather special. You can get them in all different sizes as well. Maybe you have had one of these, like if you used to like Play-Doh or just rolling things out. Maybe you still have one, maybe you still like to use it. That's a sort of medium-sized rolling pin. All different sorts. But they make great pastry, great food. And guess what? They also make a really good sound. So I'm going to put these in the oven now, and we'll have a little bit more of a look at the different kinds of sounds we can get from a rolling pin. Okay, so here we are back by the fire, because the first thing we are going to do is remind ourselves of the pulse. Okay, so, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. You should be getting quite good at this by now. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And 2, and 3, and 4. And now, let's try that with the rolling pins. So, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. It's a different sound, isn't it? It's quite resonant because these are cylindrical and they're made of wood instead of being stone, so they resonate in a different way, and I quite like them. You could see what these might sound like now. This is wood, it's kind of cylindrical, but they're not rolling pins. What do they sound like? And 1, and 2. So it's a kind of dead sort of sound. It's quite a soft sound actually, isn't it? So you could go to the wood pile and just find some small bits of log and have a go with those. Or you could get wooden spoons, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Or you could even get personalized wooden spoons. How about that? You could make your own special musical wooden spoons. Or rolling pins. You could do this on a rolling pin, couldn't you? That'd be really cool. So, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Right, so this is all very well, but we don't just want to keep the pulse all the time, do we? We want to learn some exciting rhythms. So, how about this rhythm? Look at these hand-carved wooden spoons. I think they are so gorgeous. You can see all the care that's been taken carving those away. They're going to make quite a small sound, which I'm going to listen to really hard. Can you hear that? Yeah. Or talking about personalizing instruments, what about this wacky rustic, large twig. Do we call that a twig? It's kind of a twig, it's very big. And what about this? That's been whittled away. Let's see what they sound like. Nice, I like it. So, if you really don't have anything wooden in the house, you could always look in the recycling bin and see if you can find one of these. So this is the middle of one of these. Now make sure that you do not go into the cupboard and take all of this off one of these just to get one of these, because I don't think you'll be very popular. Okay, but see if you can find some of these, or ask if you can have this when this is finished. Okay, got the idea? Right, so what do these sound like? They sound a bit like boom whackers, don't they? Have you got boom whackers at school, or maybe you've got them at home? They're sort of plastic tubes. They sound a little bit like those boom whackers. What's great about these is they don't weigh anything. You're recycling. You can stick them in your backpack, climb up a mountain, and have a practice. So now let's think of another rhythm. I'm going to think of a geographical rhythm, because we've been talking about the Etruscans, we've been talking about the Greeks and the Romans and the Italians and the French, those Gauls, who were those tribes that lived in France before France became France. So I want to do a Latin American rhythm, so I'm going to think of some Latin American countries. So the first one is going to be Mexico. Mexico. And I'm going to tap that and say it. Mexico. Mexico. Brazil. 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 Guatemala. 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 So those three together are Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Why don't you have a go at that? Okay, and once you've got used to saying it and tapping it, you can see if you can keep the pulse with your feet and say the rhythm and tap it at the same time. That's getting really clever, isn't it? So let's see if we can do that. So, and 1 and 2 and 3. We'll start quite slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Yeah, this is getting really good. So, have a practice. Let's try again. 3 and 4 and Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. I like it. A bit faster. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Mexico, Brazil, Guatemala. Yeah, so this is all about getting confident with rhythm. I think it would be really good if you could think of some words, think what their natural rhythm is, and learn to tap it out. Yeah? And then you can build all sorts of brilliant rhythms, and you can repeat them over and over again. And that's kind of how we make samba bands, you know? It's all like lots of different rhythms all together make this absolutely awesome sound. So have a go. Really have a go. Remember to keep your pulse, because that's always very important. And then become a rhythm hero. Yeah? See what you can do. And then when you're really confident, you can teach your friends and your brothers and your sisters and your mums and your dads and your aunts and your uncles and your grandmas and your granddads. And then we can make one massive samba band. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Okay, so one last important thing. When you've done your practice, if you've been practicing with rolling pins, why not have a jam tart?